Well, it's Friday, the last edition of the program, The Platform, for the week, right here on Flow 94.9 FM. This is the flow of God's own state. Today is the 4th of October, and of course, it's time to discuss Nigeria, discuss Abia State. Environment is a place where humans as well as plants and animals live, and it is necessary to keep our environment clean because we get fresh air, reduce pollution, and some other things. And an unclean environment leads to a bad condition of a society, arrival of diseases, and many more. And this morning, we're looking at environmental sanitation because it encompasses the control of environmental factors that are connected to disease transmission. Subset of this category are solid waste management, water and wastewater treatment, industrial waste treatment, and noise and also pollution control. So this morning, we're taking a look at environmental sanitation as it concerns two major cities in Abia State, Aba and Umuahia. Welcome to the program, The Platform. This is the pinnacle of all discussions. My name is Michael Oni. Now, let's quickly give you a background of our discussion this morning. During the course of last week, the governor of Abia State, Dr. Victor Okezie Ikpeazu, declared a state of emergency in the environmental sector, looking at the waste. And of course, the governor led residents of Aba to clear all drainage channels in front of their residences and business premises this week. This morning, we have Dr. Aham Uko, a former commissioner for environment in the last tenure, the first term administration of Dr. Okezie Ikpeazu, as well as a present commissioner designate, joining us this morning on the conversation. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And I definitely looking at what you've done in the previous administration. It's a round peg in a round hole this morning to talk about what is happening, the latest in terms of environmental sanitation in Abia State. Let's begin with the state of emergency in the environmental sanitation. What actually brought about that state of emergency? Why the call for the state of emergency, and why the declaration of the state of emergency?
Well, thank you for your question, and thank you for also giving me this invitation to be here today. Now, the governor declared a state of emergency as a result of the preponderance of littered refuse around most receptacles unattended to. And it was almost becoming an issue, both in the social media and making rounds that the governor needed to step in.
Okay. Okay. Now that state of emergency has been declared, what are the measures being taken by the government?
Yeah, you would, if you move around both Aba and Umuahia, you will find out that the regularity or the times that these refuse are being removed from the respective receptacles, the frequency has increased. You notice a momentum in terms of frequency. To a large extent, the conditions are now being brought to a state of normalcy. Because if you remove more refuse than is being brought out, the net effect is that the environment will be cleaner. But suffice that situation, we must talk about sustainability.
Okay.
And how we can contain that relative to international best practices.
Okay, we will get into that later on during the course of this conversation. But I would like us to take a look at why we are in this present situation, the need for the state of emergency, and what are the implications of the state of emergency. So I would like you to take us on the implication of the state of emergency. Now that there is a state of emergency, maybe you should break it down in a layman's term, one that a common man on the street will be able to understand.
Yeah, the state of emergency, simply put, is a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call that we need to be more conscious of the cleanliness, around us, level of cleanliness around us, and the fact that, there has been a relapse. And so, instead of emergency was declared to enable people be reawakened to the fact that they need to have the environment clean. There are several implications of not having the environment clean. Apart from the fact that it attracts rodents around houses and living areas. These things also tend to block the drains and infringe on the free flow of stormwater that leads to flooding and all that. So the state of emergency, simply put, is a wake-up call to the consciousness of the cleanliness of the environment.
Now, it is a wake-up call to the consciousness of the cleanliness of the environment. If you take a look at what has been happening for some months before the state of emergency was declared, let's highlight the problems now. For example, in designated places where receptacle buckets are placed in you will see a situation where the receptacle bucket will be filled up, and the receptacle will be filled up that people will be dumping refuses just by the sides and the corner and the place where you have a heap of refuse. And looking at what has happened, what have you been able to highlight the problems?
Yeah, we have identified the problems, but my approach to it is not to dwell more on the problems. Having identified them is to be futuristic. What do we do going forward? Having identified what led us to where we were. I don't want to apportion blames and all that, but I think that the solution has to do with both the people and the processes. The people has to do with, we need to reorientate ourselves as it relates to how we dispose refuse. We can't continue the way we are doing. If we continue the way we are doing, definitely we'll be running around in circles without solution. There is nowhere in the world where people will, from their various houses, you bring out refuse, you just go. Some don't even put it into a receptacle. They simply pour it on the floor or pour it on the road. It's not done anywhere. As a matter of fact, there are laws. We already have laws that consider these actions as nuisance. And that requires reprimand. There are fines to this thing. So, for me, we are going to begin to enforce the law. We are not bringing about any new law.
Enforcing of law.
Yes, there is an Abia State environmental law of 2004. As amended 2013. That stipulates ways and means of keeping your environment clean. The responsibility of the people and that of ASEPA, Abia State Environmental Protection Agency, concerning the cleanliness of the environment. We will have to get back to that law and see the duties as it relates to each person, and we must enforce it. That is what I'm saying. So, people should learn to bag their refuse.
Bagging refuse is important.
Yes. They must bag their refuse. So it's not an option.
Before even throwing it into the receptacle bucket, it should be bagged.
Yes, it's not an option. People must learn to bag their refuse. As a matter of fact, I'll begin to quote the law much later. But let me just lay the framework. Apart from bagging of refuse, people should have waste bins, in their houses. Now, households, to make it simpler, if houses are contiguous, we can have a waste bin, let me say 240 waste bin shared by two houses. These waste bins, we have made effort to negotiate to bring it down to about 15,000 naira. If you go to the open market, it might be 19,000, 20,000. But you must not have that waste bin. It's not compulsory, but have something similar to it. It is not your duty to go and get a bucket, an ordinary water bucket or wash hand basin to say it is a waste bin. No, there's nothing like that. Because apart from just packing of refuse, in other climes, waste are separated. You don't just have, of course, the cellophane has to be biodegradable cellophane. It must be biodegradable cellophane. Now, under normal circumstances, you are supposed to separate your waste from degradable and non-degradable. But we'll get to that much later. At this point, because separation of waste is a precursor to recycling, where you make it easier for those who recycle plastics, metals and all of that. But suffice to say that in our environment, majority of the waste are food debris.
Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter, but if you put them in your cellophane, and then over time, it takes about 3-4 days or 5 days
to decompose.
But you put it in your waste bin and then bring out your waste bin to the receptacle. In due course, really, there has to be a house-to-house pickup.
In due course, we will get to that level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that when you bag your refuse, it makes it easier. It's an eyesore when you go around where you have receptacles and you see all manner of refuse around the receptacle. It's distasteful to the eyes.
Okay, let's take a look at the way refuse is being disposed in Abia State. You, from the point in your house, you bag it, you put it in the receptacles. But the issue now is sometimes before the state of emergency was declared, the prompt movement of clearing of the receptacle site by the ASEPA has been problem.
That has been restituted. You find out that there is a major improvement in that area. I can challenge you that if you move around the hours of say 9 a.m. upwards of 10, 11, you will see a significant improvement in that area. But it doesn't last, because if you do that and move out refuse from receptacles by say 9, 10 a.m. in the morning
to the dump site.
Yes, to the dump site. By 1, 2, somebody comes out from a shop or from a restaurant and just pours it again on the floor.
Not even in the receptacle.
Not even and around the receptacle, and it's also so. It's like going round and round it without finding a solution.
So how do we make it easy for those packing the refuse and, of course, for the government?
Yes, that is why we have to do it the way it is done. People bring out bagged, refuse at designated hours. Let me say from the hours of, say, 5 p.m., 6 p.m. till about 9, because those compactors will also go at night and then early hours of the morning. So you don't just come out by 11 a.m., 12 p.m., or 1 or 2 p.m. You just come and just pour a refuse around the receptacle. It's not done, because you might have visitors driving past the city that hour that may not even come around there again. And that impression you have given them is what they will carry outside of the state. So that is what I'm saying. There has to be some level of discipline or reorientation on how to dispose of solid waste. And so it's everybody's responsibility, not just that of the government or that of ASEPA. It's our responsibility, because a cleaner environment, results to a healthy environment, which is to the benefit of all.
Dr. Aham Uko, let's take a look at the laws surrounding. Probably if you disobey some of the laws, some persons might not even know there are laws against some of the things they are doing. Let's take a look at the law.
Honestly, we have Abia State Basic Environmental Law. It's called the Principal Law of 2004.
Okay.
If you go to Section 30 of that, subsection 3, it says that the Chief Health Officer, as a matter of fact, practically all the local government areas have chief health officers, and the actions have been quite docile in the past.
I was about asking you
that. So we need to have a meeting where we bring all the chief health officers of all the local government areas, particularly as we are talking about Umuahia, not Umuahia South Ikwano. It's in our program between myself and the SSG, whom I'm working with to ensure that this intervention is realized. We'll have a meeting with them and properly educate them on their roles and duties. It is the duty of the chief health officer to ensure that every building has an approved waste bin, and that any defaulter is punished in accordance with the provisions of the law. This Section 30 or Section 3 of an existing law.
It looks like we've not been following the law. It has not been put in place or something. Where are the lapses from?
Yeah, well, it's a Nigerian problem. The Nigerian problem is lack of enforcement of laws. We have robust laws that addresses practically every shortcoming. If you look at also that Section 30 subsection 4 of it. It says, the chief health officer shall ensure that every vehicle passing within the council or that's area jurisdiction, meaning local government or whatever, has a waste basket. So not only that you're supposed to have a waste bin, you should also have the vehicle should have waste basket. But there are fines on this thing. We must begin to enforce these laws.
In a situation where you are in a public transport and after buying whatever you're buying on the roadside and you throw away the wrap, the sachet on the floor through the window, is it also punishable offense?
Exactly, it's a punishable offense. Something must give. We can't continue to be lawless. I must be frank with you. We must have to ensure that our environmental health officers, if there is an infringement or it's called a nuisance, they are going to slam you with an abatement notice. If they slam you with an abatement notice, and within that period you don't redress it, then you face the environmental court. If you face the environmental court, if for instance you refuse to bag your refuse, we are going to put planters. Planters will move around and be stationed around where we have those receptacles, so that if you come from next week going forward and you refuse to bag your refuse, you just come and point, you will be arrested.
Okay.
You'll be arrested and you'll be fined. So the law says you pay 5,000 or 1 month imprisonment or both. It's a law. I'm not the one saying it.
Next week now, some persons will be arrested for disobeying this.
Such infringement will attract punishment.
Okay.
Yes. If we allow it to go unpunished, then we cannot get anywhere. That's what I'm saying. Something must give.
Permit me to cut in here, Doctor. Let's take a look at the dump site. Do we have a good dump site in Abia State? Because there was a time we've heard that dump site was another issue. A temporary dump site, getting a permanent one, and we've been going back and forth on this. Do we have a permanent dump site in Abia State now?
We have a dump site that can serve us for some couple of years. When I was the Commissioner for Environment, I made sure that the dump site along the express, I shut it down, and on the instruction of the governor. And the governor graciously also made a provision for us to acquire one, around the Obakala area,
okay.
In a remote place, because your dump site ought not to be within, a habitable environment. It has to be off residential houses and so on.
Okay.
And then we got one at the moment that is in use, and it will serve the purpose. As I tell you, we don't have any complaint concerning a dump site in Abia at the moment. The problem is not about dump sites. The problem is the way and manner people dispose their refuse, and an improvement in the regularity or the frequency in the removal of refuse from receptacles, that you find situated in living areas.
Okay, door-to-door pickup by the compactors. Is it achievable?
It is, and I must also thank the governor for giving us 3 compactors and 3 receptacles, 4,000 liters metal. As a matter of fact, we're going this morning to pick up 2 compactors. We're going to get the next one, the additional one next week. Now, if you have sufficient compactors, what you do is that you map out the area. And then people should know when the compactors will drive past the area. It is no longer in 21st century. You don't bring a compactor and you're hitting a music or bell by 5 and people will come and between. That is gone. It's mundane.
Is there going to be a timetable?
Yeah, there has to be a timetable. There's going to be a pilot program.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start from certain streets. Those streets will know, but that will be after they have gotten used to bagging their refuse, after the implementation of the use of waste bins. Yeah, because at those designated days, first thing in the morning, 6 a.m. or 7 as the case may be, you bring out your waste bin, so that as the compactor is driving past that street, All it needs to do, if you want, you can drop into the compactor, or it opens the waste bin and takes away the refuse you have already in a cellophane. It takes it away. It's not left for you to go and replace your cellophane in that waste bin. So it can do a stretch of a street in 30 minutes or more. And so by the time you track and trap, you are reducing the influx of refuse around receptacles. And what happens is that most times when these receptacles get filled up and they're not carried away, people now pour it on the floor. And you find out that if the roll-off doesn't go to pick up these receptacles in about 2 days, the whole place looks very filthy. But if people keep it within their home and in the waste bin located in their premises, you won't find that on the road. And so what I'm trying to say is that there has to be a reorientation, of the people concerning the way and manner we dispose solid waste.
All right, it is still the platform on Flow 94.9 FM, the last edition for the week. Today is Friday, the 4th of October 2019. And, I do have with me here in the studio Dr. Aham Uko, the former Commissioner for Environment in Abia State, and, of course, presently a Commissioner designate. And he has been the one in charge of taking a look at the environmental sanitation and, of course, the Abia State Environmental Protection Agency as ordered by the governor. There has been this state of emergency declared by the governor on environmental sanitation in Abia State when the governor asked the general manager of ASEPA, Mr. Kelechi Apugo, to step aside for the poor sanitation of the state. Now, I will open the phone lines for you to contribute before we go straight and, of course, talk much more on the law, what you should know, what you should do. We'll also take a look at recycling the waste. What has the government been doing on recycling the waste, and of course some other issues as it concerns environmental sanitation in Abia State. 0808-182-6949, 0811-605-2949. You can also drop messages on 0906-510-8289. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Honorable Commissioner nominee.
Designate. Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you. Good morning.
Dr. Amuko.
Yes, good morning.
Hussein Noda, I'm calling from Omaya.
You're welcome.
Honestly, I'm happy because this is where we can express our heart feelings in Abia State. Omaya, the two radio stations most times, like Flow and other stations. So thank God that you came up on this program now to tell us more about the emergency that the governor declared on ASEPA and waste management. So it's a welcome development. I know that with few weeks, it's not up to a week now that you took over with the SSG, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, indeed.
You guys have done a really wonderful work in Abia State.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I am still pleading. That Ishigate assist, that market, I believe that the governor has built a relief market.
Exactly.
That place is the heart of town, is the heart of Omahia. That market need to be, it will be, most times if you don't implement law, it will look as if people will be taking things for granted. Likewise, I said that I'm just talking about Ishigate. That Ishigate, that market need to be located. Mostly that market people used to make that place a mess. If you're just passing there during rainy season, when it's raining, you cry for Maya. So that market, since the governor has built a relief market, they need to be located to the place, and the people that will go to Bali will go. We still have market like Orioba and the Ogmadri Express. Another market, there's just a market in Abia State, Omaya in particular. They should help us to make sanitize Abia. Then finally, concerning
you have just 5 seconds, please.
The people that are dropping refugees on the road, like you said, let that law be implemented, and so people should be used as an example to other people to learn something from you. So
all right. Thank you very much. Let's allow others to contribute on the program this morning. Good morning to you.
Yeah. Good morning, Michael.
You're welcome. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
My name is Wakochi Debe from Abia in the LGA.
You're welcome.
I really want to thank God that you were able to make the list.
Thank you very much.
Speaking, you are one of our best commissioners.
Thank you very much.
And I thank God that you're back because you're going to do a lot for us in the Abia because we really want you. You know, it was under your administration that we have a street light all over Umuahia and Aba.
Thank you.
Say kudos to you and Okezi Pazutu, who has been making the talk, doing the talk. I really want to flash our mind back during Ikemosu. I remember very well then in my own street, Oka Street. As from 6 a.m. in the morning, you come and drop your refuse. After 6 to 7:30, you no longer go there till 6 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
If we can be able to adopt such methods, honestly, Abia State to be clean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people naturally, I think most people naturally are safe in nature. I am not missing word. You can't tell me that there will be a heavy downfall. Most people will prefer to pour their debt on the drainage. I noticed that at Obakala Street. 2 weeks ago, at the mechanic workshop where I went to repair my vehicle, there's a bucket at that Obakala Street. I believe you know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
That particular bucket is it's just direct opposite the bucket. There was a heavy downpour. People started pouring their debt inside the drainage. Why? There is a bucket in front of them. So I think, one, giving us a time when people should throw their debt from that 6 to 7, just 1 hour in the morning, then from 6 in the evening to probably 7, 8. Honestly, it was to be this and it worked very well. Umuahia was neat. If we can adopt that measure, it will go a very long way to clean all the mess in Abia State.
All right, quickly wrap up your thought. You have just 10 seconds, please.
Yes. The last thing I thought about is again. The international relief market has all things that anybody can ever think of. Talk about security, talk about light, talk about water borehole,
right.
talk about toilet facilities.
Thank you very much.
Them go.
Let's move on now. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Welcome.
Thank you for causing that man that they have said it to us.
Okay. What's your name, please? What's your name, please? Baba Gonas. Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome.
What is happening in Abia is happening in the Imo State. I agree with the last caller, but he tried to be annoyed or whatever. What is happening in Imo State is what is happening in Abia. Please, we black man, we need your hand. Sorry to use that language. The ministry is better for us because we need your hand. Let him be task force. Any of the thieves, the Lord responsible for that. He arrange the person, charge at the court, he pays some money to the government. Very simple. We need your hand. We black man, we used to hear. And I was telling somebody on the Keke, which I entered the boat, doing something from Keke outside. The person that begin attack me. They want to change the music for them. They know where I belong. Where I belong to. All
right. Thank you very much, Baba Gonas from Imo State. We lost that 0808-182-6949. 0811-605-2949. Welcome. Good morning to you.
Hello.
Please move away from your radio set, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, Commissioner Designate.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
Yes. What I want to say is that people behave.
What's your name, please?
Charles from Umuahia.
Okay, you're welcome, Charles.
The way people behave, has to do with the action or the inaction of the government in power. I don't believe in all this thinking and all that. The truth is that the government has failed completely as far as waste management is concerned. And then because the government is not doing anything, the people themselves are not doing anything. And people have said what I want to say. But what I want to tell the commissioner designate is that they have to, if they now they want to manage waste, they should be up and doing. Because the past they have done nothing. first and foremost, they should get people who know how to manage West, and not giving it, finding one politician to compensate him. You give him that position. People have been paying. Go to all the markets. Go to all the shops. Go to us. People are paying as a party. So why they can't manage West is what I don't understand. Again, like some people have said, I want you to give me some seconds. I watched one clip that was on New Zealand. I saw some very young men in suits. They were walking around. And the commentator said that those people were going around to see if anybody will drop anything on the ground. And the person will be picked immediately and prosecuted. Every time we hear there are laws.
Charles, quickly wrap up your thoughts, please.
Yes, because now we have sanitary people who we are going to supervise and see what is going there.
All right, Charles. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay. All right, you've made your point. Thank you. Now, I know you want to respond to some of the callers, Dr. Aham, before we continue the conversation this morning on the program.
Exactly. Well, the first caller talked about the massive nuisance we are faced with around the Seagate. I can assure the person that the governor is on top of it. The governor has built a modern relief market, I think around Amuzuku, where they are going to move. As a matter of fact, the government made a statement that he has given them 10 days to move.
Okay.
So it's my belief that the governor is somebody I trust, and I believe that he walks the talk. Therefore, in no distant time, I think those around the Seagate will be made to move. He is compassionate in such a manner that he wants it to be done without much infraction, without it affecting their means of livelihood and all that. People usually have this lethargy, adapting to change. So he's very cautious about it. But at the end of the day, I can assure you that hopefully before the end of the month, at the worst case scenario next month, but before December, that area will be thoroughly cleaned up. We'll clean up that area and do a lot of greenery. There has to be greenery around that area. And if you see that rail line area and all that, we'll remove the whole of the refuse around there, beginning from ShopRite down to Abia Park.
I believe what you mean by greenery is the beautification of that area.
Sure. That place will be beautified. Grasses and trees planted. We maybe with outdoor lights and all that, sit out and so on. So, I think that the governor has in mind, to fully restore the capital city, to its pride of place. The last caller saying, one of the callers saying, government has not done anything. It's not good to be cynical about some of these things. Government keep doing things, but we the people should support the government to also make the environment habitable. Everywhere in the world, the way we carry on in this place, let me say in Abia, you can't try it out outside of here. That is what I'm saying. In other places, they will give examples that things are done properly. There are people who don't behave the way you do. So why don't you try and conform, to the standards of those people, such that the government will also do, what it's supposed to do, and everybody collectively will have a cleaner and better environment.
Commissioner designate, it looks like Abba has a very peculiar case.
Well, I will not discuss Abba because the governor himself is the one intervening in Abba, and the governor is an environmentalist.
Okay, he was once the deputy manager.
He is also hands-on thoroughly when it comes to the issue of the environment, and so he has said Abba should be left for him, and he's going to personally intervene for about 4 weeks, and he has put every machinery in motion for that. And if you go to Abia lately, you see that improvements are being recorded. And so I believe that by the expiration of the 4 weeks, the governor has given himself to intervene. There will be significant changes in Abia.
Okay, let's take a look at the compactors, the receptacle buckets, and some of the equipment you make use of during the course of your work, making sure that we have a clean Abia. Do we have enough?
Well, for receptacles, from time to time, we need to have newer receptacles or replace old ones, because these are metals that are responsive to corrosion. Some of these debris, when they mix with
water,
plastics and all that. Plastics are done with polypropylene, polyethylene granules and stuff, and they have chemicals in them, which when it comes in contact with food debris and all other things, so the metals experience corrosion. So what I'm trying to say is that we'll keep replacing the receptacles that we have.
Okay. And the compactors?
The compactors, yes. The governor has graciously given us additional 3 compactors here in Umuahia.
How many did you have?
ASEPA had 3, but 2 were down. Only 1 was functional. We are trying to fix the other 2. And so
that one functional, is it for, you're talking about Umuahia?
No, Umuahia, not Umuahia South, Ikuano.
Okay.
So I believe that in the next 1 week, we should be able to have at least 5 compactors working. And then if we are able to have waste bins and enforce the use of cellophane, which I think we'll have to do in the next 2 weeks, then we shall have a pilot location for pickup of refuse door to door.
Okay.
We need to move as quickly as possible, and my expectation is that before the end of year, we would have put in place a program or a model that will ensure a fairly cleaner environment.
Okay, let's accommodate more calls before we continue on the conversation this morning. I do have Dr. Aham Uko right here in the studio, a former commissioner for environment and, of course, a commissioner designate. We're looking at environmental sanitation in Abia State. We have a very peculiar case in Abia State, and the governor declared a state of emergency. We've talked about what has been done so far, what will be done, and of course what we will get to see before December this year. He has mentioned a whole lot on the program this morning. Keep your calls coming in. 0808 182 6949, 0811 605 2949. You can also drop messages on 0906 510 8289. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Michael Oni. Good morning, my commissioner.
Thank you. Good morning.
You are doing a nice job. I know you met. I know what you can do, and I trust you can sustain it.
Thank you.
I want to commend FM for this job they are doing. It's a good one, and personally, while commending you and the good work of the governor, I also want to bring to your notice that there are areas where we have issues, more especially in World Bank. There are locations where we don't have receptacle. That has generated today. That has led to the extent that where, when it is raining, a lot of people at the residential areas, they have been busy dumping refuse in the drainages. Simply because I want to believe, probably because there's a non-presence or not the presence of this spectacle is an issue for them. So I'm talking about areas like from Health Center Road down towards that old timber. There's no any receptacle there for us, and I think if we can provide one, it will go a long way to curtail the activities of people dumping refugees in the drainages. It will also help to control the blockages of these drainages, because it is activities that causes that. And lastly, the best thing that will be done that will help us and help you and the government achieve all these things is enforcement. The security agencies must be involved, so that they will know the policies and the rules and whatever the government is doing and know how to enforce some of these things. Thank you, and God bless.
All right, you didn't mention your name, please.
Sir Ike on the line.
Okay, Sir Ike, you're welcome. Good morning to you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, let's accommodate more calls before the commissioner designate responds. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yes, you're welcome. Good morning.
Okay, this on the line.
You're welcome.
It's a nice discussion. I want to make a challenge. When somebody buy a new basket, and that new basket, you bought it for something useful, and you don't regard it, people will use it roughly. So we are doing the correct thing this time by removing the general manager of ASEPA. Have shown that yes, Abia is now serious. Abia used to be one of the cleanest states in this country, but today it's not so because of the head. Now the governor has taken it upon himself as an environmentalist. Let us join hands to do what is happening now in Omaha South. The other day I walked into the local government. I saw in the evening time there was light. In the morning time before the local government, see a dump there. But it is clear, if all the local governments we have in this 17 local governments will join what the man at Omaha South is doing, in fact, Abia will be more serious. Yes, well, if you go to Calabar, you don't dump anyhow, even on the street. You will be prosecuted for that. Let us be serious because we are calling our basket an old basket. That is why the public are making nuisance of the ASEPA system. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning to you. Hello.
Yeah, good morning.
You're welcome. Good morning to you.
Yeah, my name is Chidebere. I'm calling from Abia.
You're welcome, Chidebere.
There are some areas that I've been expecting people to say something about, but you people have said nothing about.
You can also let us know the areas. Please go ahead.
Yes. I'm calling from Ibere by Road, you know.
Okay.
You know, our governor just built that street newly, not up to 2-3 years. But if you can come there to see how the gutter is full of nonsense, you get mercy for yourself. So I would like in a way where you people will be patrolling from street to street. Any shop or any person who has any gutter in front of it that is so dirty, let the person be arrested. Because some of them used to be there. Somebody will drop something inside the gutter, they will say, Abasayam, you know? So I would like in a way that when you people started arresting person who is the gutter in front of his or her shop is very, very dirty, so that it will enable the person to stop any person to throw something inside the gutter. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Good morning to you.
You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. Welcome. Oh, we lost that. Honorable Commissioner Designate, I would like you to respond to some of the calls. Before we take a look at waste recycling in Abia State, what we have on ground. Okay, let's respond to some of the callers, please.
Okay, yeah, the caller from World Bank, I agree with him. We indeed need more receptacles. As I said earlier, if you listen, I said the governor has graciously given us 3. In my view, we need almost 10 urgently. Haven't given us 3. He has promised to do more in the coming weeks. And so we shall begin to situate, these receptacles are prime areas. But if people acquire, the waste bins we're talking about, it will reduce incidences of having to go to the receptacle. We only have those that overflows and spontaneous refuse that will now go to the receptacles. For the World Bank, we intend it will be one of the pilot areas where, upon enforcement of the use of refuse bags and waste bins, we're going to do door to door around those locations. Yes, around the old timber area. It's a good observation. We intend to intervene around the old timber area tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow,
Okay.
all things being equal. So, we have mapped out all these areas for purposes of intervention. But the thing is that by the time, for instance, you do Ochendo bypass or do maybe Sieke, Afaruku and all that, in 2 days and all, the next day, the people have littered it all over the floor, all over the road. And as I said, it's so distasteful to the eyes. So we have to go around there again to scoop, areas they have cleared. But if people keep waste bins within the confines of their homes, as provided in the law, and use waste, so you won't have the frequency with which, in fact, it's not even cost efficient. The frequency with which you go around receptacles and clean these things will not be so. The issue of enforcement must be taken seriously.
What of the issue of enlightenment too? Because you mentioned reorientation. I think maybe engaging media organizations like Flow FM or some other radio stations and making sure that people get oriented.
Exactly. We are going to collaborate.
Okay.
There has going to be massive collaboration with the media houses, and other agencies, to disseminate this information.
Okay, let's take a look at waste recycling in developed countries. For instance, we have a situation where waste being sorted out, like you mentioned earlier on. Maybe we have colors. We have the blue bag, the red bag, and the green bag, where you sort them out, designated.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, the waste, the bags will be disposed according to what is in the bag and will be recycled. What do we have in Abia State?
Exactly. What we intend to do is that to introduce the use of green waste bins.
Okay.
In the first instance. Mind you, we shall encourage the use of biodegradable cellophanes. And then if you have the green waste bins, in the first instance, it will contain everything. When you're talking about recycling, what we want to do is, after having the green waste bin, we shall introduce either a black one or a red one in due course.
Okay.
Because I'll give you an instance. When the use of cell phones came out, people never believed that our grandmothers could even use cell phones. They could even recharge their phones. But currently, most grandmothers use cell phones. They can even buy airtime.
Facebooking.
They can buy airtime and all that. So nothing is impossible. After we have introduced, let me say green buckets that contains everything, we shall introduce maybe a black one or a red one, whatever choice the governor will approve, such that sorting begins at home.
Okay.
No, one bucket will be for degradable, the other bucket will be for non-degradable. As a matter of fact, outside of here is an offense for you not to sort your refuse at home, because sorting of refuse is a precursor to recycling. And people even make money for sorting out their refuse and selling it to companies that recycle. In some locations and in some countries, you sort out not even twice, you sort it out thrice. You have food debris and all that in one waste bin. You have another one that contains for non-degradable, have for plastics. All plastics of all form in another bucket, and then paper, papers and all that in another. But here, even if we do it degradable and non-degradable, and such a manner that companies that recycle could just come and lift that waste bin that has both bottles, papers, plastics and all that, it's easier to sort. So if you don't sort your refuse and you mix them up, you mix plastics and food debris, everything in one, and put it in one cellophane, it's difficult to recycle. So what we are doing is like laying the foundation for us to move to the next level. And hence people were saying, is it easy? Can our people adapt to it and all that? No, you have to. Rome was not built in a day. So the earlier we begin to introduce these practices, the better for us.
Okay, let's accommodate more calls as much as we can take before we wrap up things here on the program this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You're welcome. Good morning. What's your name?
This is Sonny Felix.
Okay, where are you calling from?
From BC.
Okay, you're welcome. Any more states?
I've been calling and they are not picking this call.
We have so many.
Only one line. Not good.
You won't accuse if you do not hear my side of my own side of the story. I do not select calls. I punch the buttons here. I don't even know those that are calling. So we have so many persons trying to reach us on the program. But go ahead with your contribution this morning.
Okay. My commissioner, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
I'm an Abian, though I'm living in Imo State. I always visit my state almost twice every month. So there's something I want to say concerning this sanitation and environmental whatever. Since the creation of Abia State, I've never seen any day there was a cleanup exercise, a sanitation exercise in Abia State. So I would not like you to misunderstand me. The way they do sanitation, especially in Abia, is not good. Somebody will come and pack out sand from the drainages and other garbages there and put it still near the drainages. When the rain will fall, the whole thing will still go back into the gutter. And those sanitation agency will see it, they will not say anything. It's not good. Everywhere will be smell. Okay, look at you people are talking about cutting away the garbages and the Maya.
Quickly wrap up your thoughts, please.
What of Abba? I think where the major work should be done is in Abba, Ngwa Road or Anko Road.
Okay.
Look at those areas. Please, something should be done.
Wrap up your thoughts because of our time. Thank you very much for your contribution. Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Michael.
You're welcome. What's your name?
My name is Promise Uzomukuru.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good morning to you, the Honorable Commissioner Designate.
Yeah, good morning, my brother.
First of all, congratulations over your reappointment as the commissioner in the state.
Thank you.
My question is just very simple one. What effort will you take to ensure full compliance during sanitation days? Because if you will agree with me, I know that ASEPA collects a monthly fee, sanitation fee from houses in the state. But if you discover that during sanitation, most business people, it's not enough for business owners to just shut down their businesses without doing the actual reason why those businesses are being shut down. It's not also enough for house owners to just stay in their house and sleep and wait till 11 o'clock before they start moving. What effort will ASEPA take to ensure that fronts of their vicinities are kept clean on sanitation days? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Promise. Let's the Honorable Commissioner Designate respond to those questions. We'll wrap up things here on the program this morning.
Okay, well, the one caller mentioned about sanitation exercise not being undertaken in Abia State. Well, somehow, he said that he
resides in Imo
State, and he visits perhaps twice in a month. Maybe those days are not sanitation days are the last Saturday of the month, and we've been having a sanitation exercise in Abia. And the other caller was talking about how do we ensure full compliance. The full compliance now, will be undertaken by the environmental court. We have environmental court now that will be mobile, and they're going to live up to the billing. I can tell you. And then with the collaboration with the media and other agents of government to disseminate information about the best practices for waste management, I think it will help in the orientation of the people and more like acculturization of how these things should be done. I think in the course of time we will begin to notice changes.
Okay, Dr. Aham Uko, I want to really appreciate your time on the program this morning for speaking and giving us, bringing us up to speed on what is happening as it concerns environmental sanitation in Abia State. We do appreciate, and we hope if we call on you, you will oblige to speak on any issue we invite you to speak on Flow 94.9 FM.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's it. That's how far we can go this morning. The last edition of the program, the platform for today, Friday, the 4th of October 2019. It's Friday, and I think we should declare the weekend already. Do have yourself a wonderful Friday. My name is Michael Oni.